here today with Christelyn, co-author of Swirling and founder of BeyondBlackandWhite.com. How you doing, Christelyn?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, thank you for joining us. Now, this interview is an interview that I was looking forward to because we hear Christelyn's name a lot online. So we're going to make sure to let Christelyn tell you a little bit about herself. Christelyn, for people who don't know who you are, what is it that you would like people to know what you do, what's your mission, and so on?
Okay. As you mentioned, I co-authored a book called Swirling, How to Date, Mate, and Relate, Mixing Race, Culture, and Creed back in 2012. And as part of my sort of outreach and getting sources for the book and all that stuff, I started a blog. The blog was called Beyond Black and White. And specifically, I was looking for Black women who were interested and or involved in interracial relationships. And there just wasn't any sort of forum for them to have this discussion because the numbers for Black women dating interracially was so low. So it just became this place, this community, growing bigger than I'd ever thought. Of course, we've had some pushback. There are people who have a problem with Black women maximizing their options dating interracially. And so we've had some challenges in that regard. We've also had a lot of successes, but there have been some challenges for sure.
Okay, so you kind of laid into my next question, so I probably won't even ask you that one. Let's talk about your book. You and your co-author wrote Swirling, and do you feel the subject matter of the book is important for Black women, and why?
Well, because I think that Black women have a unique challenges when it comes to dating. We are in a situation where there's a lot of good news about what Black women are doing. We are educated. We are starting businesses. We are, becoming citizens of the world. We're out there, but part of the challenges are that and have been an issue probably for the last 4 or 5 years that there's been serious discussion. Black women have unique challenges when it comes to dating. Not all of them. Some of them do just fine, but a lot of them have a lot of challenges when it comes to dating intraracially. And we're talking about, dating just within the diaspora, right? We're talking about African American men and maybe, foreign Black men who live in America. So the options are somewhat limited and skewed because of the dating advantage that quality Black men have in the situation. I mean, when you think about monopoly, I mean, if you've studied capitalism in the United States, the railroads and the telephones used to be a monopoly. And how did they treat people? When there was no competition, when these companies knew that there was no other place, no other choice for these people to get their services, how did they treat those people? So within the dating world, it's the same thing. So when you have this scarcity, when you come from a position of scarcity where there are not a lot of marriageable Black men, or at least not enough. So I'm going to qualify that and say that yes, there's a lot of really great Black men out there. They're not enough. If you want somebody who is at your level, financially, career-wise, educationally, it is in your best interest to include quality men of all races. The same as Black men, quality Black men include women of all races. And in fact, Black men date and marry interracially twice the amount that Black women do. So you have Black women who marry interracially at 12%, but you have a full quarter of Black men, according to the Pew Research, who are dating and marrying interracially at 25%. That's a full quarter. That's quite a bit.
And there's definitely reasons to that, but I want to backtrack something you said.
Okay.
Where did you find the research or facts that state there's not that many quality black men? You said there are some, but you're saying it like, well, it's not enough of them, so they need to kind of open up their options, and then you relate it to career advancement, money, things like that.
Yeah, and
Why do
also
you?
just a sense of being on the same page in terms of family and what you want for a family. And where I get the research is just all of the data. I mean, there's data that reflects that there's a 2 million we outnumber marriageable black men by 2 million. So that skews the dating options. You also have issues related to African American men who perhaps have not finished high school, they're not going to college, they're caught up in the prison industrial complex, maybe they're not interested in marriage. We do have a 73% out of wedlock rate, which does not reflect well that our community is facilitating and encouraging marriage. And if you want to have all these things, it is not my message to exclude the men who are the best men for the job, but to include other men. So this isn't about attacking black men and saying that they're not worthy. There are obviously. But what they are doing is what I am encouraging black women to do. Quality black men are dating Lakeisha, Sue Lynn, Rebecca, Rocio. They're dating everybody. And my message is, why can't you? Why can't you? They're doing it. Why can't you? And it's not about revenge, but it's just saying, hey, you know what? It behooves you to widen your dating pool than to narrow it.
Okay, so give me the definition of quality, because you keep mentioning quality, but I keep hearing quality as in finance. So
I think a quality man, finance is part of it. Like
how much percent?
There should be no.
Christelyn, how much
a woman should not be raising a man.
Well, that's immaturity.
There should be an equal contribution. We do have the babies, and to have a partner who's able to share the financial burden of think about it from a woman's perspective. You get pregnant, you have a baby. There's places that I know in regions in the United States where black women are having babies, and 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, they're going back to work because there's nobody there to help. There is no support. This is a big thing for me. I'm a mother of 4, and if I had not gotten the help from my family and from my husband, because not every pregnancy it goes off without a hitch. I was on bed rest for 3 months. What would have happened if my husband wasn't able to provide for me? Where would we have been as a family if he hadn't been able to step up to the plate and to carry us through that really stressful time? So yes, absolutely, finances play a role. You can't, love does not pay the bill. So I think that you have to be realistic and say, you can't just live off of sunshine and air. I mean, you have to have some sort of, it costs money to live. And I recommend, and I do advise women that they should choose men who are, who have the 3 Ps, who are able to provide, protect, and produce. Those are the 3 things, the 3 elements that I think are the cornerstone of a quality man.
Okay. You said provide, protect, and produce.
Yes.
Two of those P's had to do with finance. So once again, I'm gonna ask you the same question: how much of provision, in your opinion, in a successful relationship? Because you said love don't pay the bills, which I say the same thing to men. Okay, and because I'm gonna write things down as you talk, so I can make sure I'm not, gonna misquote you or anything. Give me the percentage of what you deem provision should be within a marriage versus love. Give me the percentage.
Percentage of love versus finances?
Because
I can't really give you, because this isn't a math problem.
Now, Christelyn, what I was asking about the percentage, because I'm just trying to take it as a logical reason on the provision part, because you stated that provision is a main thing. Even in your 3 P's, you said provide, and what was the other one you stated?
Protect and produce.
Okay, provide and produce, which has something to do with finance. It also
No, that's not true.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm just listening to what you're saying, and
but providing isn't necessarily just financially, and there definitely is that element. I don't think that it should be minimized. But providing could also be that you're contributing around the house. If you've got a wife who's working 8-10 hours a day, you're not at home playing video games and expecting her to work 8-10 hours a day and then come home and cook and clean and take care of the children and do the second shift because you think that that's the woman's job. So there's different ways that you provide. Also, doing things around the house. I mean, for me and my husband, we share the duties. I mean, I do the laundry, he mows the lawn, I'll cook Monday through Thursday, he cooks Friday through Sunday. I drop off the kids at soccer, he picks them up. That is part of providing. It's part of contributing. It's being a team. And not expecting one person to do all of the work and expecting one person to carry all of the burden, which unfortunately leads to a lot of problems, I think, a lot of resentment.
Well, everybody's marriages, work for them. Some people do things different. Some is the man may do all the finances and then the wife may do other things based on I've learned just being married that is no rule with marriage. It's just whatever works for you. But so
when you ask me if there was a percentage, I can't give you a percentage because all marriages are different. So
okay, so based on what you just said, all marriages are different. Do you believe some people may feel, well, I want a man that's going to love me and also provide, but I want the man to love me more than have a money, because you can be a millionaire and you could be a piece of crap.
No, this isn't about accumulating wealth. We're not talking about.
No. I'm not saying that, Christelyn, because you kept saying that a quality man, and you was mentioning that a man that don't have the same amount of finance. Let's say if the woman's making, $90,000 to $100,000 a year. And you basically and you're not the only one who said this, because I've had many conversations with different women that when they get to higher income brackets, they want a guy that makes the same amount of money they're making or possibly more, or the guy just isn't a quality guy. But us as men, we don't care if we're making $1 million. If we think you a good person, or in our eyes we think you look good, we don't care if you're working at Applebee's. We'll talk to you.
Okay, but therein lies the difference between men and women. The difference that you mentioned is something that is innate. Women, just in general, look for men who can protect and provide and protect their offspring, whereas men they're more visual. They're looking for someone who can, let's just be real. They're looking at the body. Can she carry my children? Does she look healthy? Does she look good? Will she take care of my progeny? These are all things that are
and she won't cheat. and
Yes.
she won't lie, and she
Exactly.
won't
So
spend
these
all
are
my
all
money and
things.
make me broke. And I'm just adding
But,
stuff to
but see,
it.
that's what I'm saying. Like these are, but the needs, the basic needs of male versus female, and the things that we value are not quite the same. I mean, I think that in our society where things have become a little bit more egalitarian, maybe maybe those lines have blurred a little bit. But I think for the most part, men are very visual. They're looking at things from, what can she do? Can she raise my kids? Can she have my kids? Is she healthy to have my kids? Is she fertile? And all of those things related to those questions that are in your primal mind, that are going in your are going through your head. And for a woman, she's looking at the man who's like, who slays the most dragons, like who's bringing home all of the wildebeests, who's bringing home all of the mammoths, the woolly mammoths home. She's looking at the guy who is able to provide and protect them. It's just something that is very we live in an advanced technological society, but we still have very primal needs that we still sort of tap into when we're choosing a mate.
Which as a man, I agree with that portion of it. I understand, women want a man to protect them. They don't want a man to be like weak to them. And they want provision. They want to go out there and cut their car on and it works. They don't want the people to take their car from them. They want the lights to come on every time. As a man, I get that 100%. And that's kind of universal. But what I'm saying is, in which a lot of men have to deal with this, is that it's better actually to get a woman when you're broke than when you have money. And the reason why as a man I say that is because at least she's with you for you. But some women are out there looking for money. And then I've seen, and a lot of men have seen, they have been rejected by a lot of women because, this woman making $80,000 a year right now. She got a position in her company or whatever. You may be in college. You may just be getting your business going. And then that woman's like, I don't want to talk to him. He don't have anything. But yet in the next year or two, that same guy probably going to be making 5 times more than you. And then
then that's when he needs to hit her up.
Really? So in order to talk,
Christelyn, can I give you an example?
Christelyn, hold on.
Can I give you an example of my situation?
Christelyn, hold on. Listen, I just want to make sure you clarify that. So as a man, you can't talk to certain kind of women unless you're making a certain amount of income. But if you're broke, just go ahead and leave women alone because you really don't have that kind of money to talk to them.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay,
what I'm saying is it's each individual person's choice to gauge potential. And I think as women, we're nurturers. We always want to gauge potential. And we like, one thing that that I think that we both can understand is that I think women in general like to some degree to be able to build somebody up and encourage them and help them. It's part of what women like to do, just in general. Mm-hmm. But I think that there are levels of it, because you can't in one instance say all these women, all they want are thugs, or all they want are these, men who aren't doing anything. You can't say that. You can't use that argument and then turn around and say, well, why won't you take the up? Why can't you take the fixer upper? Why can't you, build this man up? Why can't you do it? So it's like, in one instance, the complaint is y'all just dating these nothing ass men, and then on the other end you're saying pick a guy who's a fixer upper. You can't have it both ways. But I can tell you that, but in terms of Black women, there's women on both spectrums that are doing these things. Mm-hmm. And so my whole thing is that if you are in a space where you have done the work, and this goes for male or female, if you have done the work, if you've been committed, you have, delayed your gratification, gotten through school, mm-hmm. Reached your goals, there was absolutely nothing wrong, and you should not be guilty or feel guilty if you want somebody or desire somebody who's at that same level. Like, there's just no stop. Just stop it. Don't guilt somebody because they want somebody that is at their level. They deserve it. Now, it's in each individual person's choice, how much they want to bring up somebody. I can tell you that statistics don't play that out, that when a woman is married to a man who makes significantly less money, the man will cheat, is more apt to cheat. So, we can talk about how, these things work out, where you have a woman who's successful and picks up a brother and, helps him out, and he becomes this, multi whatever. As nice as that sounds, that doesn't always play out. Sometimes it's the woman who does all the work, and then the man feels like, they get resentful because they're not, they're getting help and assistance, but they're not doing it on their own. I think there's a certain level of pride that goes into doing things on your own, working hard. And at the same time, you can nurture potential. And if you allow me to, I'll give you an example of me and my husband. So when me and my husband dated, he was gainfully employed. He'd graduated from one of the best colleges in Boston. He went to Boston College, came from a good family. He was a saver. He clipped coupons. He was very wise with his money. And these were all things that I observed as his girlfriend. He got laid off, and he didn't have any money coming in. But when he was working, he saved $15,000. And that's like unheard of we were like 25, 26 years old. And for a 25, 6-year-old, kid to have $15,000 in the bank that he saved himself was very impressive to me. But at the time, he had no job. So when I was looking at, here's the potential. He's not making any money right now, but he is smart. He graduated from one of the best colleges. He's responsible. He's good with his money. He's frugal. He's wise. He has good control over himself. I'm going to nurture this. So.
Well, I got a question. How was your finances at the time that he lost his job?
I was working. So when he got laid off, this was after September 11th. And people were getting laid off and, losing their jobs left and right. Major recession. I was working. I still had the job. And so I was like, come, let's work on this together. You'll get another job. I had a daughter at the time. I was like, I'll work, and you drop Kayla off from school, pick her up, cook the dinners, I'll, take up, a few extra hours, maybe get some overtime, put in a little bit more work. Since I have the opportunity, and I know that my daughter's well taken care of. We were engaged at the time, so we weren't dating. We were engaged. We were getting married, and so we switched it up.
And he still didn't have a job at that time?
He did not. He did not have a job.
And let me ask you a question, just hypothetical. How much money were you making at the time?
I was making about $45,000 a year, but this was back in 2000 and.
I'm listening. Okay, so you were making $45,000 a year. He lost his job, but he saved about $15,000.
Yeah.
You agreed with him that he would just help around the house or with the kids. Basically, he would be a house dad while he was looking. So basically, what you're saying is that you worked with him until he got up on his feet, correct?
That's right, but
okay, hold on.
Understand
Christelyn.
though, there's a qualifier there.
Christelyn,
it wasn't like I just dusted him off the street.
Christelyn,
like I said,
I'm not saying that.
He had qualifications. He had things that were going for him that displayed to me that he had competency.
Okay.
So he had his track record of competency. So I wasn't just betting on, a horse that I had no idea, if whether or not that they could even be in the game.
Okay, but Crystal, this is what I'm saying. You basically was working. He lost his job. It wasn't his fault. He agreed to be a house dad at the time. You was willing to take extra shifts. You're willing to do everything. But you say you saw his potential. You saw his degree. You saw all this other stuff. But he just wasn't there yet. Correct?
Right, but that wasn't.
Okay,
that,
hold on, Christelyn.
It's not quite what you're. That's. I think that we're looking at it from two different ways.
But Christelyn, as you're talking, I'm writing down what you're telling me so I can make sure But earlier you were stating about women that have certain amounts of money. They should only go for a man that has, certain amounts of money because they deserve it and everything like that. But at the time period, even though y'all together, he lost everything. You say you saw things in him. You stayed with him. You worked with him. Y'all came together. Maybe now he's doing great now, but you still gave him a chance.
Right. Well, when he was working, we were making the same amount of money. So things happen. So basically in any relationship, there's always a possibility, especially in the tumultuous times that we live in, there's always a possibility that one or both people will lose their job.
Correct.
But at the time, we were comparable. When we were dating, we were comparable. I didn't meet him and say, oh, this is an upgrade. We were dating, we were engaged. Like, we had been dating for 3 years. He had a job, he was working. I saw him display competency, and when he lost his job, I was happy to switch roles. I mean, it wasn't even switch roles because at the time we weren't married, so it was like we were just, kind of pitching in 50-50, and we only had my child at the time. We subsequently went on to have 3 more, which is why I stay home with the kids. There's just, we have a lot of kids. But again, that's a situation where I didn't meet this man and he was broken. He had a lot going for him. I saw what he was able to do, what he was capable of. I saw his character and his work ethic. And so I knew that because I had that information and because he had that dossier, that I was able to make an educated guess that he would be a good bet. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. So basically you took a chance and, when things happened to him, you stuck by him and everything until he got back on his feet and it looked like it was a good decision. Now, So at the same time, there are other men out there who, just like your husband, who they were doing okay. I mean, they're not at grand level yet. They're doing okay. They may have a degree. They may have an associate degree. They may even have a trade or whatever, but they're actually good men. They hustle. They work. They never without a job or whatever, but they may not be considered, quote unquote, successful just yet. Correct? So why isn't that it's being promoted to women who's possibly have a little bit more to say, why don't you get with that guy? Because, listen, when I got with my guy, he was working, he was doing okay, but he lost everything. He stayed at home.
You keep saying he lost everything.
He lost his job.
He didn't lose everything.
When you lose your job, I've lost jobs, Crystalyn. You start losing things.
But that's not. That wasn't our
messes
situation.
with your confidence.
Like I said, he was a planner, and so he had $15,000.
I understand he had a savings. He had a savings, but he still lost his stream of income. As a man, when you're used to working, used to providing, used to doing for yourself, it's hard to, even though you can have a lady that's understanding, you're still like, man, I don't really like this. I'm not used to this. I want to be out there working. Because it makes you feel like good as a man when you can provide and do the right thing. That's what I'm saying about losing things, because it does mess with your confidence. I remember one time I lost a job in the wrong kind of way, and I was depressed about it for almost 3 months because I felt I didn't do anything wrong. I had this job almost 5 years, but things happened, but it was a blessing in disguise. So that's what I mean by, losing things. But you still stuck by him. That's, what I'm saying with the whole situation. And that's what I tell anybody, whether it's male or female. You should stick by a person, and if they have that in them, eventually they're going to come out of it. But we shouldn't turn each other away or, be a good gauger of, that person, because just like as a man, I was making a certain amount of money when I met my wife. Okay. But really my wife, for me, have been more of an asset that I could ever think. You know, how she treats me as a husband, how she loves me, how she treats the children, even helping what we do here and everything. I mean, how things just took off because of the things that she has helped us with here. So what if I just looked at my wife as, oh, my wife don't make the amount of money I was making at this job? But you know what I'm saying? See, that's why I look more into the character of a person. And I say, look into their character, look into their heart. You can see the potential. My wife wasn't lazy. She took care of her stuff or whatever, but she just wasn't where I was at the time.
Well, I think we agree. I mean, we're on the same page.
Okay.
Because you saw you saw her display competency, and you saw the character, and I was in the situation where I saw that as well. And so I don't think we disagree. I think we agree.
Okay, so I was just saying that because, you know, like what you were saying earlier about women that make a certain amount of money, because at that time period on that particular job, I was making $72,000 a year on that job, and my wife wasn't making $72,000, nowhere near $72,000. So that's what I'm saying.
But again, there's different needs. I think men, again, you know, the money issue is not always the same value for a man that it is for a woman. I think that men aren't necessarily looking for that in a woman. They're looking for different things because, again, you go back to that primal brain. You know, will she be a good mother? Will she, you know, be able to, you know, raise my kids? Will she be able to feed my kids? Will she be able to protect my children and, you know, take care of me? So these are all very nurturing qualities that have nothing to do with how much you earn. But again, it just goes back to what men and women value and how things are different. Okay.
So I just want to make sure I clarify all that up for everybody listening. So at the end of the day, it's about picking the right person, looking into that person. They having, you know, good qualities, but also just like I say, they're just an overall good person, have great character about themselves. Yes. And that to me is more important than money, because money come, money go. You could lose it, it could gain it. Trust me, I know.
Right.
On that. So
well, my father had an 8th grade education, and my mom had a master's degree. So, but my father was the hardest working man that I had ever seen.
Okay.
And smart, super smart. Family was everything. And so in terms of, you know, what I feel like what a man's character should be and what they should bring to the table, it's not just about, you know, you can't go into specifics. It's all going to be based on each individual. But I can tell you that in our family, you know, my dad, he retired from the city of Los Angeles as a garbage man. When he was retired, he started a landscaping business, and you know, he made, you know, okay money, but he was retired. He had his pension. My mom worked, and then she didn't. So something happened at her job, and she had to retire early, and he took care of her. She never wanted for anything, but that's just the kind of value system that he had, that family was everything first. But there were times where my mom, you know, made more money and my dad didn't make as much money. And there were times where, you know, they were both working. And then there were times where, you know, only one was working. And then eventually they both retired. But they were always a team. They always worked together, and they were always on the same page. And I think that that's really what's the most important thing too, is that you're a team, and that one person isn't trying to get over on the other person, that you guys are really trying to build together and work together.
And that's how it is in my marriage. We are a team. And I love it that way, because all that me and mine and yours and all this stuff. I tell people this: if you're doing that division stuff, it's not going to work. My money, your money, separate bank accounts, that stuff just do not work. Now, Christelyn, let me get into some things here, because I know the people want me to ask you. Okay. Some of your critics state that you have a hatred for black men. Is that true?
No.
Why is that not true?
Okay, so there are people who think that I have this intense hatred for black men, that I just had a terrible relationship, and I'm just on this crusade to just punish every single black man that ever lived, because I just hate them so much. The fact of the matter is that there is no hatred in my heart. I am critical. Yes, I am. I am critical of certain elements, certain things, and the value system that a lot of African American men have in the community, and that is, I am critical of the cavalier nature of sexual responsibility. I am critical of the creation of fractured families that leave Black girls and women and children vulnerable to violence, to abuse, to poverty. I am critical of the sexism and the general hatred and disrespect that a lot of Black men have for Black women. So yes, I am critical. I do speak out on those issues. I am critical of the colorism hierarchy that goes on in the African American community, which is, from an individual basis, no longer my problem, because I'm no longer trying to attract men who are obsessed with color. But at the same time, I have 3 daughters that have to live in this world. I have cousins. I have aunts. I have have nieces, and I want the community to be better for them. Like, I think that these are all issues that we need to address. I feel like for too long, Black women have been told to shut up. That our value has been diminished. We are dehumanized. I mean, my critics will say to me, you're only critical because, no Black men were checking for you. You're just mad because you're not light-skinned and your hair isn't straight and you're ugly and you're dark, and that's the only reason that you do this. And, the fact of the matter is that, I'm not checking for a group of men who thinks that my skin and my hair are ugly. So I'm free from that. There was a time where those types of things would have hurt me deeply. I have moved past that because I have found a place where I'm celebrated, not degraded. And so that's what I encourage other Black women to do. And I honestly think that for a lot of and I think this is a very vocal minority. I don't think this is the majority of Black men. I think the majority of Black men are really, they don't care that much. But I think there's a vocal minority who have a real problem with me telling Black women to move on, to throw up deuces to men, not all men, but to the men who degrade them, who dehumanize them, who want to keep their foot on their necks, who want them begging for scraps. I encourage, and I am unapologetically encourage Black women to move on from these men. Not all Black men, but from the men who do these things. And we know, you and I both know, who these men are, don't we?
Well, Christelyn, some of the things that you're saying, you just describing maybe people who are childish, and childish behavior is in every group, every race, gender, whatever. I think this childish behavior. And
I encourage them to stay away from those people as well.
Hey, Christelyn,
but here's the thing. Before you go on, the reason why I tell them to move on and to expand, to contract and expand, is because for a lot of Black women feel like maybe my only option is another Black man. And when you feel like your choices and options are limited, while at the same time seeing the opposite gender that looks like you being able to maximize all of their options, while you are isolated and you are restricted, that creates frustration, that creates desperation. So for me, it's about empowering women to have choices, because with choices comes power, and with power comes respect.
Now, Christelyn, do you believe, and I'm going to ask you something, this is based off of just pure statistics, do you believe most Black men marry Black women?
I think that yes. Yes, I do.
Okay. So that's statistics to back that up. So since most Black men will marry a Black woman, have children with Black women, and the guys who are dating interracially or so, those guys are very small in number. And now you may feel it's more
because I mean, most could be 51%. You know, I mean, so the fact of the matter is this. Statistics reflect that black men marry later in life, which is not conducive to a woman who is that same age to build a life with. If a black man is at 25, 26, 30, 35, 40 years old, still out at the club, dating, running the field, doing whatever he does, he can build a family and have a family when he's almost 40 years old. Whereas his counterpart, who's the same age, does not have that benefit.
Yeah, you're speaking about the biological.
Ovaries have a shelf life.
Yes, you're talking about the biological clock, because I notice a lot of women when they turn 30, they start getting nervous because
exactly.
You know, versus
so
men. But you understand something about men.
Always make the right choices. But here's the thing: 43. There's a statistic that says only 43% of black men marry, and of that 43%, 25% marry interracially, and to minimize, so let's just say that isn't even true.
Yeah, because that's really not true, Christelyn.
But let's just take that statistic out. Let's just say that it's more than 43%. Let's just say, let's make it even. So if 70% of black women are single, let's flip it on its head and say 70% of black men marry. So of that 70%, you have a full quarter of black men who marry and date interracially. That is not a little bit. A quarter of anything is significant.
Okay, Christelyn, let me state facts to you, and I have it before me right now.
Okay.
This is coming from the U.S. Census Bureau population survey of 2014. 86%, the black men who are married, 86% have a black wife. 7% of them, out of that 100%, have a white spouse. 4% Hispanic, 3% other race. Now, when it comes to black women, 94% of black women who are married have a black husband. 4% are white, 1% Hispanic, and 1% other race. So it goes back to what I was saying. Black men, for the most part, marry black women.
But you have to understand also that the census is behind. They're always going to be perpetually behind. So I go by the most recent data. I go by the Pew Research, because they're a recognized organization. They have had their finger on the pulse of interracial marriage and interracial relationships, and they have the most accurate data, and they are, you know, nationally, internationally recognized to be accurate. So that's where I get my numbers from.
But it still goes back to
the most accurate is from the numbers that I present to you is from June 12th, 2015. Mm-hmm. Interracial marriage, who is marrying out, Pew Research Center, published on June 12th, 2015.
Okay. But long story short, black men, and I'm telling you about black men, because I'm a black man myself. Most black men really want to marry black women.
That's besides the point. I'm just telling you that from, and what I'll do is, since we're on this call right now, mm-hmm. I am going to send you the link to what I'm looking at, so we can have a discussion about what we're seeing, and we can be on the same page. And if you look at the graphic, if you pull that up on your computer and you look at the graphic, among blacks, men are more likely than women to intermarry. Opposite true for Asians. Whites, 7% even, both sides, date interracially. Black men, 25%. Black women, 12%. Asian men, 16%. Asian women, 37%. American Indian is cray-cray. 54% of the men marry interracially, 61% of the women. So this is the latest data. This is the latest data that I use and that I have been using since I've started doing this. So, you know, and I can show you study after study, stat after stat that supports what I'm saying.
I'm not denying that people aren't married. Of course, people are marrying different races now a little bit more than ever because we all kind of around each other a little bit more than what it used to be. Let's say back when I was growing up, in the 80s and 90s. I mean, trust me, I've definitely seen the difference in the shift of that.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
but at the same time, some black men, like you said, what if somebody like myself was to go on a crusade and say, you know what, black men, you got options. Just leave them black women alone. Just don't and don't say
But see,
negative.
that's not what I'm saying.
No. I'm saying
You just said
Christelyn.
something wrong. You said something that I
Christelyn.
never said. We
I
have
didn't say
to
you
clarify
said it.
before you move forward. Because
Christelyn.
you said that I said leave black men alone, and I didn't say that. I've never said that.
Christelyn, I didn't say you said anything. Listen to what I said. I said, what if me, not Christelyn, I'm not putting words in your mouth. I said, what if, let's say on my platform, and I just start talking to black men, and I say, black men, it's just really not a whole lot of black women that can meet your standards due to the 73%, single parenting rate, and just go through a lot of statistics, okay? The reason why I was saying that, Christelyn, was I feel personally when it comes to relationships, I don't think we should really focus so much on the color aspect of the whole thing. I think just finding a good person. It's just my opinion. Everybody do,
and that's my opinion too.
Everybody do what they want to do. But also, I live in the real world, and as a black man, if you start charting those waters, now if you date women of color, let's say of other races, you may not have the issues that you could have possibly. And please, nobody take offense. I'm a realist. If you're a black man and you start dating attractive white women, you could have problems with that due to racism. Because some of these races don't want to see a black man with a very attractive white woman. You would have problems with the police and everything else, especially when you live in certain areas. I don't know where you live, but in the South, you may have to deal with that. So it may be a little easier to date and marry a black woman or even a woman of color. You get what I'm saying? But it's not that black men just said, I'm going to just go date women of every race just because that's just what I want to do, and I want to hurt black women and I want to treat them bad. And some of the people. But
that's not what I'm promoting. And so I know that's not what you're saying that I'm saying, but I feel the need because sometimes when people watch these videos, they're so emotional. I want to clarify and say that I'm not saying that black women should leave black men alone, that they shouldn't date them, that they should just go and just anybody else is better. That's not what I'm saying. And to address your issue of interracial relationships have its own set of problems. Well, intraracial relationships have its own set of problems. In fact, unfortunately, black marriage has the highest divorce rate. So you've got two people who are the same color, but we have the highest divorce rate.
And we can get into divorce rates.
There's also data that says
we can get into divorce rates all day, Christelyn, and that'll be a totally different conversation because a lot of that with divorce, period, just for anybody, has to do with family law courts, feminism, and such. So that's a different conversation in itself.
It sure is a different conversation, but statistically, it's true. So if we're gonna use stats, we have to tell the truth and use all the stats that whether we don't like them or not. I think you have to at least acknowledge it. So, I mean, to say that interracial relationships cause, a whole host of problems that can complicate a relationship when black and black marriages are statistically in peril from the beginning, more so than any other, is I don't think that's a good basis to make an argument.
No, I'm not really making an argument. I'm just stating a point when it comes to, because listen, Christelyn, I deal with a whole different subject matter probably that you deal with when it comes to race relations and the news and stuff like that. And, just talking to people I know, because I have family members really of all races within my family. But certain unions can make things a little bit different. I've had white women write me and tell me that with the racism they've dealt with having a black husband. I mean, so it does create different things. I'm not saying don't do it. You grown. You love who you want to love. That's not my business. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that certain things, you know, when you maybe encourage certain things, not saying you're telling people what to do, not saying you saying don't fool with black men, leave them alone, they're scum of the earth, not saying you saying that. I'm just saying I tell people, listen, do what you want to do, but you may deal with certain things. That's all. And just
well, I think
even
with
as a
every
black
action,
person,
there's a consequence.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever decision you make, whether you take the easy road and everything you do is according to what society says that you're supposed to do, there's still going to be challenges and you know, there's going to be ups and downs. But I think that what it boils down to, and what in the last chapter of the book that I wrote, I said, if there's anything that you can get out of what I'm saying to you, out of all of the 16 chapters that we have put together, and that is to choose character above color. Look at the character of the man. I don't care if he's black, white, green, yellow, purple, polka dotted. What is his character? What does his soul say? And then that's when you make those decisions.
and I feel, and we both agree on that. I feel that's the most important thing you should look for in any relationship.
Absolutely.
It's the character of a person, because you know what, a color or whatever is not going to be with you when you're sick in the hospital.
Exactly.
Or you lose that
You
job
can't build
or
with a
whatever.
color.
Correct. And I'm glad you stated that. Now let me ask you one thing before we go, and this is something that's probably maybe hurtful. You know, some of your critics have called you names, okay, and some of them have called you a self-hater, agent, and a Negro.
What's an agent? What is that?
An agent is a person that's trying to listen and trying to gain all the knowledge they could from black people and bring it back to white supremacists or somebody who wants to do harm to black people within the racist
So like
side.
a secret agent, like a spy?
Yeah. Basically, you're a spy. You're bringing information back to slave master,
To
or whatever
who?
kind of words you want to do that. I'm just giving you the short version.
Are there slave masters still alive?
Oh my Lord, Christelyn, we have to talk. We have to talk after this. I verse you on terminology, and also, you know, I know they have called you Negro bedwench.
Oh yeah, they call me. I am the. What do they? What did they say?
And so let me
I
ask you a
am the queen bedwench, or the top something that they said, that I'm just like the top of the bedwench.
Okay, so you are the queen.
I am the queen bedwench.
Queen Negro bedwench. Now,
Yes.
how do you feel when they say this to you?
It puzzles me because the definition of a bedwench, I mean, we could just, you know, we can kind of, you know, the definition of a bedwench goes back to slavery, when you basically had a woman who could have been like chained to the bed, who was just there for your sexual gratification, to be used physically, to be demeaned, to be dehumanized. So I'm always confused as to why I'm called that, because I've been married for 13 years. I have my husband's name. We have 4 kids. One of my kids came with the package. We live in a nice house in a nice neighborhood that he goes to work every day so that I can stay home with my kids. So if this is what is being a bedwench, then okay. I'm a bedwench.
So, well, that would qualify you as a bedwench, not to be married for 13 years with children.
But to a white guy. So
Well, I mean,
all of these things happen, but because he's white, I'm a bedwench. So he's giving me his name. I live in a 6-bedroom house. I get to stay home with my kids and be a soccer mom. I get to cook dinners and have his drink ready when he gets home and fix his plate and, you know, help the kids with their homework and volunteer at school and be on the yearbook committee. If that's what being a bedwench is, then I can name a few hundred black women who would be standing in line to be a bedwench too.
Well, I would say women in general just want a decent man. That's
Exactly. So I mean, if that is their definition of what a bedwench is, then I'm a bedwench. Whatever. You're not hurting me. You're not taking anything away from me. At the end of the day, I'm still Mrs. Karazin, and I still have my life. I still have my platform. I still can speak. Now, there are people that have scared me. I mean, there's been people who have been very, very aggressive and with their threats and saying things like, I should be killed. I should be raped by a black man, that, I'm somehow using my feminine witchery to like bedazzle and bewitch young, unsuspecting black women and girls. I mean, I've been accused of everything.
Well, most of those people that do that, and I'm gonna say some of the black guys that do that, they broke. Most of them, they don't have anything, because at the end of the day, a real man not checking for you. Like, I'm not worried about what Christelyn got going on.
Exactly.
I did a video a long time ago called Thousands of Pretty Faces Why You Tripping on One. And the purpose of that video was, okay, if this chick don't want you, if she, whatever she got going on, why you tripping on her? They got so many women, they got more women that's available today, and actually women just throw themselves at you if you're a real man about a situation. I don't know why they're tripping about you for. That's just how I look at it. I don't know why some people do that.
I know it's a fear, because some people have said, if you were just ugly.
Well, yeah, that could be part of it. That could be part of it.
Not as accomplished, nobody would care.
Well, I think that's part of it, Christelyn. Some of these guys are attracted to you. Now, if you was, like you said, if they deemed you unattractive, they wouldn't pay attention to you. It's the same thing with a guy. If you're a black guy and you're successful and you're doing good for yourself, and let's say if you're with a woman of a different race, there will be some black women that have an issue with that, and say every time they get successful, they go get him, this woman, they go get that woman, or whatever. It's the same thing. It's like, you ain't lost nothing. They got so many successful brothers out here.
Yeah, it's like,
and I know some men who
my whole thing is that
don't have kids.
In my 20s, I had no doubt I was gonna marry a black man. Like, that's who I wanted to. I came from an intact home. My parents had been married. They were married for 45 years. He died the day after their 45th wedding anniversary.
Oh, wow.
I had never I was always like, yeah, date. My first boyfriend was Mexican, and maybe I would have these casual, like, yeah, I'll go on a date with you. Yeah, let's go to, Red Lobster. Let's go hang out and, whatever. But when it came down to when I was ready to settle down and wanting to build a life and be married and build and create a legacy and create a life with somebody, I was looking towards all of these, quote unquote quality black men, these unicorns, as we like to call them, the IBMs, and they were not checking for that. Like, they would, they'd be like, okay, I'll go on a date with you, I'll have sex with you, you'll be part of the rotation. But they weren't ready for that, because they were enjoying their status, their unicorn status. And it was like, what am I supposed to do? Just wait for these men to be done with all of them, all these other, whatever they got doing? I'm supposed to just sit over here in the house, with my hands clapped together, being all chaste, and just wait for them to be done? I thought that was unfair. It was sexist. It was unfair. It leaves a lot of black women, we talk about black women being bitter. That leaves a lot of black women bitter. I think they have a right to be bitter when they feel like they don't have choices.
Christelyn,
they don't have the
I gotta stop you right there. No, nobody have a right to be bitter, because when you bitter, you're gonna be by yourself. Because I'll tell you that. Don't walk around with a chip on your shoulder, mad about somebody you can't control. Because there are men out here that want a family. They want to have children. They don't even have kids. They don't have no baby mama drive. They don't have nothing. Okay, so maybe the men that you was around at the time was probably want to play the field like that. But I know men who was to say, "Hey, I'm looking for the right woman," and they not 45.
Here's the thing: is it my responsibility to look under every rock, in every corner, in every crack? Am I supposed to be on some Don Quixote quest to find
it's
the
called,
man?
well, didn't you say
like how much looking am I supposed to do?
Well,
So it's
didn't
like,
you say
and
earlier
you have to ask the
about
person,
keeping
huh?
options open, Christelyn? That to me, that's an option. Like, I'm a firm believer of don't look for people, they'll find you. And that's how it happened to me and my wife. I would not
I
just
disagree. I think that you
looking
should
around
be
and
with
looking.
everything else. If you have a goal in life, nothing that if none of your goals should be something that is passive that you just happen upon. I think that with everything in your life that you have a goal to achieve, that you need to put in some effort to see that through. Like to just say, I'm just going to wait for this. You don't sit and wait for a college degree to come to you. You don't sit and wait for a job to come to you. So why would you wait for a person, a spouse, one of the most important people in your life to just like be delivered to you by FedEx?
Well, Christelyn, what you talking about
absurd
right now? A lot of men see through that. What you talking about? Oh, I'm looking for a man. I'm looking for a husband. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And you kind of see that desperation, and some men get turned off with that. Versus just enjoy each other. Enjoy the conversation. You could talk about, hey, you want a serious relationship? Do you want a serious relationship? That way, I feel you should find out from the first date what y'all both want to do. You shouldn't be wasting money. I tell men, don't you waste time on them women. Don't you waste your money. Ask them if you want a serious relationship. She just want to say, I just want to be friends. Okay, see you later, because I want a wife right now. I mean, it's just that simple. So I just think it's a conversation and just let it happen.
But you have to put yourself out there, though.
Well, like you have to put yourself out there
to be available to have those conversations in the first place.
Yeah, you got to go out on dates. You got to talk to people and things like that. I get that. I'm not saying sit in the house like a hermit and just say, oh, well, I hope somebody knock on my door one day and ask for my hand in marriage. I'm not saying that.
You'd be surprised at how many people encourage women to do that, though.
Well, I don't encourage nobody to do that. You can't stay in the house. I mean, you only live once. Enjoy your life. Be yourself. Have fun within reason and everything. And I just say things eventually will happen. Because most people I know who got great marriages, they didn't say, you know what, I went out there and I just found her. A lot of times y'all just meet on the job, y'all meet at the store, or it just happened and y'all just clicked. I was a little bit more proactive. I prayed. I said, you know what, Lord, I'm going to be open, and I don't care what package he comes in. This is the type of man that I feel like is going to be a good husband for me. I want you to put someone in my path who is going to be good for me, and I don't care what he looks like on the outside. And once I reframed my thinking, that's when I found my husband. So you basically your mindset changed on some things, and then that's when
because a lot of it was external. Like for me, it was like, he's got to be this height. He's got to have all these external things. Like my daughter's father, who is a gorgeous man. He went to Howard University. He's 6'2", very handsome.
So wait, stop. So your first husband was black?
Yeah, actually we were never married.
Okay, your first guy was black. Okay, so everybody know Christelyn was with a black guy. So y'all
pretty much all I predominantly dated was, and we created a beautiful daughter. She's going to be 18 in January, and she's the light and love of our lives. But on paper, he seemed perfect. I mean, he graduated from Howard University. He was dark, but he had like these chiseled features. He was charming. He was in church. He didn't, have any kids. He didn't have no felonies. He was like all of the things that you check the list off of superficially. But if you dug a little bit deeper, there were some issues that were irreconcilable. So
it was character issues.
That wasn't going to make him a good mate for me.
So it was character issues.
It was a character issue.
Okay, so that's what get people in trouble when you have these unrealistic expectations and say, like you said, he need to be tall, he needs to be this, he need to be that.
Exactly.
So
that's why I counsel women, because I've been stupid like that too, and that's why I can say definitively, and this is not to say that you should get with somebody that you have absolutely no attraction to.
No, you gotta be attracted to the person.
Attraction is important. But I think that if you let that be your be all end all, I mean, I have people who say, you know, why are you with your husband? Like, he's not, he doesn't look like a male model. Like, I'm just like, so what? Like, is that your criteria for what a mate should be? That they look like they could be on the cover of a Calvin Klein ad?
Let me ask you a question. A person that asks you that they're single, right?
Exactly. Yes.
That's why that, like you say, consider the source. When people have unrealistic expectations of people, you're going to be by yourself. So,
exactly.
Christelyn, where can people find you?
I'm so glad you asked. Well, I hope that they can find me on your channel too, because you're going to put a link to my YouTube channel.
I'll put it in the cards.
Right. And if you want to check out the blog, at beyondblackwhite.com. The book is on Amazon. It's also on Barnes and Noble. It's highly rated. It's still flying off the shelves. Pick up one. I would love for you to check it out. Leave a review. I'm on YouTube. And yeah. I'm also the brand ambassador for Interracial Dating Central. It's the only online dating service that I endorse that I think is a good, if you're interested in dating, whether you're a man or a woman, is interested in dating interracially, go check it out.
All right. I want to thank Christelyn Karazin for joining us on the show. Make sure you leave the comments. We want to know exactly what you think. Me and Christelyn had a civil discourse on a few things, but hey, I love to do that. You see, we had difference of opinion, but we still smiling at the end of the day. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.
Thank you for having me.